back to the round 16 SuperCoach review with me, JD. I'm unfortunately very under the weather. I'm getting quite sick, so I figured I have to film this instantly after lockout. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be knocked out for the next couple of days. So here we are. We'll try and get through this. I don't know how my voice is going to hold up. I don't know how many times I'm going to stop to blow my nose, and I hate editing, so I don't know. I might just leave all those in there if I have to go down that path. So bear with me. We'll try and get through it. It was a pretty good week for me. Nearly a 2,700. I think I was projected to probably to have a 3-digit round rank, but Sicily and Brody both went really large in the last couple of games, so that definitely hurt me. But yeah, we'll jump into that. Like, obviously, it was all right week into the top 10k. Hopefully, I can still kind of salvage this season a little bit. And if we get a few more rounds like this, well, then definitely can. So we'll just see. All right, so I ended up using 2 trades last week. I don't know, I kind of got talked into it. But also, like, team's not great, so have a bit of fun. So with English still not playing and me having no long-term confidence in Heaney, like, I really should have gotten Toronto here and backed myself, which I did in the other format, but I didn't here. I ended up getting a F7 kind of M9 loophole cover here in Stringer. Just because he's cheap and he's got the upside, like he's a decent loophole player. Him and Heaney, as long as you kind of get one good game between them each week, then maybe it can turn out all right. So Stringer came in and Chittis came in, who was like really disappointing. We gave him no game time, less than 40%. So yeah, that's quite sad because I thought he was going to be decent cover from here on out, and it doesn't look like he's going to be the case whatsoever. And I honestly, who did I trade out? I think it was Cooper Stevens and Clark from West Coast. Just the 2 rookies that had the most money on them, so I could get the trades done. Let's hit a little bit of optimize. Hopefully that should sort that out for me. Except the only difference will be I want Heaney with the emergency on him because he'll be the loophole option this week. Sorry, setting up team a little bit early for that. But anyway. All right, let's run through it. And then the big talking point this week will be for those that have players that copped injuries. There was Hall, Zorko, Houston. It was a really bad week for injuries, especially for Rich as well. Like, for anyone that had, Trelaw might have copped something as well. So for anyone that seemed to have soft tissue history, this was the week where it played out and got you. And this is like classic Supercoach gods, right? Like, relatively injury-free year to this point. Everyone's kind of trucking along all right. Get through the buys. We overtrade a little bit, get down to 2 or 3, even though we had 5 extra to start with at the start of the year. And now all the injuries come to all the guys that you decided to take a risk on to give you a leg up. So this game definitely requires taking calculated risks to get the best results. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that got burnt by those this week. And hopefully they've got the trades to make moves around them anyway. Otherwise, you're in a tricky spot. Or maybe if you've still got Dacos at D7 or something, that looks like he'll be a good enough pick from here on out. But all right, in defense, I mean, Dawson and Sinclair, these two are huge. Are these now D1 and D2 for the year? With Hewitt D3. Oh, no, Sicily must be LeBron, as they call him in the Discord. He must be one because he had another huge week as well. Let's have a look here. Yep. Dale was obviously the one that people picked up as a Stewart option, had a really good week. And then Crisp and Short, very troublesome. Short, is there anyone else? Rich was injured. Brayshaw, who some people wasn't great. Sard was okay, that's interesting. Ryan, just so. And then Dale was good. So if you have like Houston, Hall, or Rich, who are you trading them to? I think we went over this last week, but the top 4 here are probably still the top 4 that you want to have. Sicily, Sinclair, Dawson, Doherty. I think Crisp's still an okay option, just because of his durability and all of that. And then probably next up's Bailey Dale now of what's on this list. Oh, Hewitt should be up there as well. Hewitt should be one of the top owned ones as well. So actually it would be... how was it sorted originally? Was it total points? Yeah, so Sicily, Sinclair, Dawson, Doherty, Hewitt, and then Crisp is probably the top 6 I would have. What's the average? Yeah, I mean, still not going back anytime soon. And then, I don't mind Bailey Dale as number 7. Or if you don't like one of the other ones, like maybe you don't like Crisp because he's not scoring enough. Yeah, Short's a little bit of a worry. If you had a luxury trade, then Short is the one that I'd be moving on. West Coast, like Richmond's run home is okay. So like for someone like me that's going to have to hold him, it's not the end of the world. He should still score okay, but he's just spending too much time forward of the ball, which isn't good for SuperCoach scoring, despite him playing pretty well. So I'd be very happy to move him on if you're in a good situation where you could do so. To the other six that we talked about, Crisp I probably wouldn't. I'd hold. Ambrosio was really good for Bombers. He looked amazing in his third game. Really happy to have him at D7 because he just looks like he's going to be good cover for this year. I don't expect 80s every week. Like it should be probably closer to this 60s, like low 60s number, but that's really decent if you get a laid out and, if someone else doesn't have any cover there, you're really happy with that. I think this is only probably behind Dacos. And what did Ware score this week? I know he kicked a goal, right? He should have scored all right. Oh, he had his highest game for the year as well at 89. So yeah, like Ware, Ambrosio, or Dacos, if you got any of those three at your D7, you're chilling. Mids went off this week. So last week I talked about like if Oliver wasn't in your captain vice captain plans, you're doing things wrong, and ideally you'd have him as a vice captain. I think is the preferred option, just because like I saw some people that had the vice captain on Neil who went 135, and then they kind of you like obliged to take a 135, even though Oliver had so much more upside than that. So yeah, like it really should have been vice Oliver into C Darcy's what I had, and it would have been a perfectly okay C. But yeah. This is my setup was this, and obviously I just took the Oliver C. So really happy, vice captain C. So really happy with that score. But yeah, most of the mids went off this week. You had Laird, who, despite the nasty rumors all week about his shoulder, played and looked fine. Neil was really good in a tough matchup. Took was really good as well. Merritt was a game winner for the Bombs in a match that we probably shouldn't have won, or at least we weren't expected to win. Kicked 3 goals, which I think is the first time he's done that since 2017. And could have kicked a 4th as well, which he sprayed. And then Petrarca was back to his best. I mean, I was saying on it was either the podcast or the late trade show last week that of the cheaper options, like Petrarca was still my favorite. And, we got a ceiling game finally. He had, an injury, copped a knock through this bit, or was it a tag or something? Had a few bad games, but definitely looked back to the Petrarca of old in this one. They've got a few like tough matchups coming, so we'll see if this keeps up. But yeah, that was a ceiling game for Petrarca, and it's really high ceiling. And then Cripps, of my mids, this is the one that you could move on. I mean, what's that? Since round 9? Is it round 9? Yeah, he's had 2 tons in 7 games. That's not good. He was the best player in the comp through the first 6-7 games of the year, or I guess through the first 8 rounds. And now he's just middling midfielder. So if I could trade him on, I absolutely would be. I don't think I'm going to have the money to do this trade. Yeah, thank God, because it'd be so tempting to do it if I had the money to do this. Steele is just such a better SuperCoach midfielder. But like that's the exact same trade I did in fantasy last week, and it netted me points, Cripps to Steele. But yeah, Cripps is the midfield I'd be moving on as one of the cheaper ones. Like, yeah. But lots of other mids did really well as well. Let's quickly have a look. So Guthrie was the other cheap one that we touched on a little bit. He did well. Who else is relevant as a midfielder? Brayshaw was best on ground easily in that game. He played really well. Anderson, good. He could be like relevant in the future at some point. Kelly was really good in the wet, although a lot of the GWS players were. Titch was looked back to his old self in that game, but don't get fooled. I think this is just a one-off because of the conditions. He got to play a role that was really preferential to him. Walsh was good, as we kind of expected and continue to expect from him. Parrish was all right. He started off very slow in this game, and thankfully it was close with scaling on the line because that helped him a lot. But yeah, Steele's probably the one still that I would pick up, assuming you've got all these top dogs already. Like we go by average here, so like Oliver, Neil, Laird, McRae, Took, Walsh, Spray. Yeah, like they're all good options. But yeah, on the cheaper side, like Trucker, Kelly's kind of cheap. Not a terrible shout. But yeah, Steele at this price is really good. Merritt's probably sits behind a few of these. The interesting one that's worth talking about was Mills because he obviously dominated Essendon at the start of the year, and I was really confused by what I saw from him in this game. So I think the first CBA they had him out in a wing, and he basically played an outside role, at least from what I observed for most of this game. Like I was paying attention to other things, but in the last couple of weeks, they'd either had him on the ball or behind the ball, and he was neither of those really. Later in the game, in the fourth, when they were getting smashed around the ball, had been for a little bit, they brought him in there for a bit, and he obviously moved forward and kicked a goal and got scaled quite well off that. Like I don't think he was deserving of 85, if I'm being perfectly honest. Maybe that's just a non-owner bias. But yeah, like this is like two poor scores. He's dropped off since earlier. Without having seen anything or heard anything, I wouldn't be surprised if he was carrying something. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something wrong with his Achilles or ankle again, and they're trying to give him different roles to let him play and kind of manage that the best they can. But not good for SuperCoach, and I'd be really worried as a Mills owner. They've got a tough matchup this week in the Dogs as well, but another good opportunity to see where they play him because it's a little bit of a must-win for them, especially with the Dogs being one of those teams that are knocking on the 8. So, yeah. My midfield, is there anything that's supposed to be like, yeah, Cheetah's just low time and ground. I mean, Gold Coast got overrun a bit in the end of that game, and Cheetahs and what was the other one? Ace, their other debutant, both got really low rotations and time on ground, which is puzzling. Like, why did you play them if you weren't going to actually play them on the field? You just played two men down, or at least one man down, basically, with how little time on ground they had. And it also worries me that he's going to get a game or not. And he was meant to be my cover, so it's pretty annoying. I don't think Clark gets back in. Maybe, well, it's hard to see either of these teams make changes with them coming off wins, so probably unlikely either of them come in. He might get dropped, so that's pretty worrying. Ruck's Wits was disappointing again. Like against Cameron and Cox as well, which is not the best ruck duo. You think he'd be able to run circles around when it comes to tap work. Cox is tall, I guess, but not exactly a good tap ruckman. And like Cameron's a good ruck, so I mean Cameron outscored him massively. But yeah, this is a little bit worrying. And a lot of people jumped on Wits at quite a high price, and he's in a bit of free fall at the moment. Obviously, he had the big game last week, but two of his last three have been really poor. Nank this week, which should be a tougher matchup, and then Draper the one after, which should be all right. I don't know. There's a little bit worrying. We'll see what happens with Wits. As long as he stays healthy, though, that's all we can ask for, at least in my situation anyway. A lot of other rucks aren't. And then Darcy was okay. I guess the only problem with this score is like we saw Wits go 148 last week. Darcy just the 124. Like you would have expected a bigger score. Tried to take it out of the ruck a lot and got caught sometimes doing that or didn't dispose of it. Where, obviously if you're just hitting balls to advantage, you get a much better score instead. So, yeah, tough. If you did have like a Wits or someone like that with Gorn coming back this week, would I luxury trade him to Gorn over like Cripps or Short? Probably not for anyone in that situation. Like this is probably one I'm more likely to hold than the Cripps or Short one. And then the forward line, yeah. So obviously English back this week, which would be really nice. I thought he might miss two, so I traded him in the other format as well. Because I thought he was going to miss two, but in Supercoach kind of have to hold him just because of how good he is, how hard it would be to get him back, or impossible for me. Which meant fielding both Stringer and Heaney this week, which is probably one of my bigger letdowns. So, yeah, like some people had Sicily in the back line who went big, but they might not have had like Dawson or Sinclair. So it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, having Stringer or Heaney instead of Brody this week is big oof. Although Brody's score in Supercoach wasn't that good, right? It was just 100 or something. 96. I mean, it's still like 30 points on Heaney. Okay, yeah, Bont was good. The concerns about his shoulder, greatly overstated. Cogs was good in the wet. Dunkley was good. Park was good, except he went missing late. And Stringer was good. Well, he was on like 30 at three-quarter time and then kicked 2 goals in the fourth to help us win. Plus, he had a goal assist. So, yeah. Yeah. I think if you're looking to trade in forwards, let's just have a look because there's lots of interesting forwards probably rather have now. Himmelberg was one that people had been going in on, and he played in the wet, but still had a good score in this format, right? Because of all the spoils and stuff. 101. I still think he's a really good option. He was the one that I was probably targeting most last week. I was targeting him over Libba if you were choosing between them, which on a 1 week sample does not look good because Libba absolutely smashed it. But still have faith in Himmelberg. Probably becoming more of a believer in Libba now as well. At my own peril, I probably still wouldn't have Brody as a top six option. Like I like Dunkley, Libba, Bont, Parker, Cogs, English, Himmelberg more, and then when he comes back, Bailey Smith as well. Who else went big? Because I'm sure there's lots of like weird and wonderful scores in this week. Oh yeah, Rioli was really good. I mean, they had North, the Cats boys, so no surprises. Coleman once again showing that he would have been a great starting pick for us had we had the opportunity. Oh, would have made us a lot of money. He's already up over 170k, averaging 83. Taranto played basically on ball this whole game, and it suits his game style well because he just likes a hug and he likes a hack kick, and he got to do that willy nilly in the wet. Get rewarded for that stuff. And then this one's interesting, like Callum Brown. So he debuted, well, I think it was his second game, but his first full time one for the Giants. He kicked 4 goals in the wet, scored 102. So unfortunately, at his price tag, he's probably not a realistic downgrade option for anyone that needs a downgrade, even though the defender forward swings pretty nice. But yeah, I wouldn't expect to keep that up just because of how reliant on goals that was. The rookie that debuted this week that was probably a touch more interesting than Cheetahs was either Burgoyne for Port, who played out of defence. I think he's replacing Riley Bonner, who's out for another 3-ish weeks with a cheek, and he played well enough to hold that spot, I would imagine. So I would think he continues to get games. Otherwise, the other one that looked really nice was, well, at least I wouldn't know, like I say really nice, but looked good was Bedendo for the Dogs, who debuted as well, played in defence. He started out strong but faded a bit late. Although the Dogs as a whole faded a bit out a bit late, and with Daniel having minor knee surgery, like a bit of a clean out, he's probably 3 weeks away as well, so he should have okay job security. So yeah, they're probably the two rookies I'd consider. But yeah, this is the team this week. So obviously looping Heaney with Stringer. I don't know what my benchmark's going to be here. Probably just take anything over 90, I guess, unless one of them has a really soft kill. But Heaney against the Dogs and Stringer against Brisbane, like I don't have high hopes for either of them scoring well this week, and this is going to do my head in every week from here on out. For captain, vice captain, so who's playing North Collingwood? I'll probably not look at Crisp, even though that's a good matchup. Who's playing Crows and Hawks? They're playing each other. So Laird is a potential captain option this week. Brisbane's playing Essendon. I think Neil has decent history against us too. 198. Oh, that was right. Earlier this year, 198, 157, 157. So I think Neil is a pretty obvious captain option against us. Wow. Okay. So it could be a Sunday special of like Neil into Laird. Otherwise, like Oliver is probably the informed mid of the competition at the moment, but I don't know if I want to VC him against Geelong. West Coast plays Carlton, but West Coast have looked better in the last couple of games, so I definitely wouldn't be looking at someone like Cripps. Neither of the rucks in Darcy or Witts have amazing matchups this week, so I probably wouldn't look to either of those. And the Dogs play the Swans, so even though Merritt scored well, I still don't know if I'd look at any of them as options, especially with Hickey back. Like if English was rucking against Laddams, maybe that's someone you could look at. Does any of them have like really good history? No, McRae's history against him isn't good. Took's got Richmond. I mean, Richmond historically leak points to midfields. He's got, what, a 153 and a 124 in his last two against them. It's not bad history. Would I look at any of the defenders? Probably not. Who Sinclair got? Freo? Definitely not. Doherty's got West Coast. I just don't know if I could trust a defender as a captain. These are probably VC only plays, and Dawson also plays late, so probably none of them. What about for options I don't have? GWS play Port. Could you look at Kelly? Probably not over Laird or Neil. Mills can't go for the reasons we've talked about. So yeah, I think it's probably Neil into Laird for me. Otherwise, if you didn't have Laird, which some people don't, I would look at Took against Richmond or Oliver against Geelong. Oh, I mean, yeah, Oliver's last three against Geelong was 159, 130, 111. So you could definitely consider Clary against Geelong. All right, but that's everything from me. As I said, I'm struggling to get through however long we've got through as is. But let me know how your week went. I'm sure there's lots of scores bigger than mine and lots of people that have jumped ranks much better than me as well. So post them down below. Let me know if you're making any trades this week, if you've got any injuries. And if you do and you want advice, try and let me know, like either the couple of plays that you're tossing up or how much cash you've got to allocate towards someone. And I'll more than happy to suggest the options that I like, which, you don't have to agree with. You can pick someone else, but I'll try my best to help. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.